This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. I am Dr. Duke. I am joined today by Dr. Jake Jacobs.
Hello,
Jake,
Ducas Maximus.
how are you? I'm a gladiator. I'm
Yes,
a gladiator for the
You're
truth.
a warrior for the truth.
Up or down, Jake, up or down. So, this puzzles me, friendly viewers out there in TV land. I'm a university professor, as you know, and so I'm steeped in cancel culture. I'm surrounded by walking zombie academics who believe that anybody, for any reason, who said anything nasty in the history of the world has to be canceled. So Constitution has to go, Jefferson, Washington, you know the drill. Yet, when it comes to left-wing murderers, suddenly the left isn't really concerned. So what my takeaway from my university kids, Jake, is if you kill millions of people on the left, you're a hero. If you do it any other way, if you use the N-word once in your life, you're going to get canceled. But as long as we're dealing with people like Che Guevara, Syracuse, the University of Syracuse University is celebrating a brand new mural which glorifies Che Guevara and Malcolm X, and to say nothing more, and Audre Lorde, serious communist murdery type people. And there it is. And what gets me, Jake, in the bottom right-hand corner, they seem to put all of those people in the category of Mother Teresa.
Well, it's interesting because you have Mother Teresa, the Dalai Lama, who was actually the Tibetans were persecuted by the communist Maoists, right? And Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail, his beautiful I Have a Dream speech. And they're supposedly in the company of the butcher of La Habana prison, Che Guevara, the right-hand man of Fidel Castro. And you know what's interesting? When I saw this, what's her name again?
Audre Lorde.
Audre Lorde. When I saw her, something was going in the back of my head, like and then I remember where I remember her. She, University of Pennsylvania English Department had a beautiful painting of William Shakespeare as you came up into the classrooms. Well, these woke students said, we can't have this bad white guy. So they took him down and they put her painting or her picture on the wall in place of it. So, and by the way, she's a black liberation Marxist. She is an absolute left. She calls herself, what does she say? She's a self-professing lesbian feminist socialist, a poet, librarian, teacher. She's an intersectional feminist who loves critical racist theory.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good. But at least as far as we know, she hasn't murdered anybody. When we go back to the image here, Mikey, so let's see. Which one of these is not like the others? Which one of these isn't the same, as Sesame Street used to say? There's one really brutal murderer on that picture, and you know and I know it's Che Guevara, right? There he is, looking very rebellious, right?
But by the way, that picture is iconic.
Oh, my God. That is sexy communism
it's
right there.
Quintessential 1960s radical with the hair, with the look, with the beret and all this. And I've had a number of my students, whether it be at the Lakeland College back in the day or high schools, where they thought he was the latest thing since sliced bread.
Yep.
And then I would have to actually educate them about the butcher of La Habana prison. That man was a mass murderer who hated Christianity with a passion.
He also hated black Cubans.
Oh, he was a racist persona.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, he set up the killing fields
Yep.
of the Castro brothers. So to see if you're a black Cuban murdered by, show that romantic picture again, Mike. This heroic guy. I mean, if he were alive today, he'd be a Hollywood movie star, right? Him and Bob Marley, those two iconic pictures. And I don't want to tar the name of Bob Marley with this clown, but he was anti-gay. He really despised homosexuals,
hated blacks. You're
black
absolutely
people.
Right.
I mean, you couldn't be more a picture of privileged racism than this guy, and homophobia, all of that stuff. But because he's Hispanic, I guess. I noticed the plaque here. He is an Argentinian. Okay, I guess that matters why. He is an Argentinian, an author, a guerrilla leader, and a revolutionary theorist. Which one of those doesn't go with the other?
And what kind of revolution, by the way?
Oh, man.
The revolution that he was so disappointed when Nikita Khrushchev actually didn't shoot missiles into New York City, that he was furious that Fidel Castro actually backed down during the Kennedy administration. Yep. This guy was actually a mini Mao Zedong. He was a mass murderer, racial speaking, when it comes to the numbers in Cuba. And what really gets me is on our college campuses and our high schools across America, he's looked at as a hero.
Yep.
Now, I love the fact that Young Americans for Freedom actually have a No Che Day. It's coming up here, October 9th, where they actually, all throughout America, in various high schools and colleges, they educate our young people.
Look at that
about
work
this
of
guy.
art, right?
Yeah.
No more Che Day. So now I should know this, but I don't, but I'm going to guess. I take it October 9th. Is that it says October 9th, the day Che received justice? Is that when he was killed?
It's when he was killed in Bolivia.
Yeah.
Yes, and they, by the way, they said, just like these Antifa weenies, they said he just curled up and said, no, please don't hurt me. Seriously.
Him and Osama, right? The two of them, right? Hiding behind their porn collections.
Here's another YAF poster.
Yes.
I love what YAF does on college and high school campuses.
Love the skulls in his hair and his beret, right? I'd like to confess, at that moment, I discovered that I really like killing. That's a direct quote.
You know, Duke, in the article, it mentions that the chancellor of Syracuse said, that we don't know if he conveys these are role models or not. He says, but we believe in free expression as a value that we protect. This is especially true for artistic expression. Are you kidding me? That here they're defending these revolutionary Marxists.
So if I were to put together a mural of Bull Connor, right?
Yes.
And
George Wallace, I say segregation.
How about all those Democrat Klan members?
Or Democratic governors.
Robert Byrd. So if I did
Robert
that,
KKK Byrd,
and I went to Syracuse University and I said, in the name of diversity and freedom of opinion and exploring all kinds of people, let's put what do you think would happen?
You forgot Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis, yes.
Right?
I mean, again, you see the hypocrisy of this, and you go back again to the mural, Mike. And here's another question I have for you. I thought the left had pretty much gotten rid of Martin Luther King. I thought that his "I have a dream" judge people by the content of their character, not their skin color. I mean,
merit.
Isn't he a standout against critical race theory?
Well, he still has some weight, because how do you actually disregard an American icon? I mean, we have a federal holiday named after him, and he was the go-to for so many years. And now they don't know how to deal with him. They don't know how to handle Frederick Douglass and any other great black American who actually thinks in traditional constitutional terms. But he still does have some clout on American campuses.
Well, given the fact, to go back to the picture, given the fact that, as we know, right, China's funding the universities and these Confucius institutes. Well, I mean, how dare they put up the Dalai Lama, who, of course, is person non grata.
The inconsistencies, the duplicities that goes on in this world, that you could have this amalgam of these characters blended together, and to somehow say this is reflecting social justice. This would be like putting Joseph Goebbels and Hitler and other characters in a mural and saying these should be our role model. This is absolute insanity.
Well, and let's talk about Mother Teresa, which is interesting because the left for a lot of years have hated her. She was a colonialist.
Yep.
She was I guess you can call her white. Was she from Albania, Eastern Europe, something
She's
like
European.
that?
Yep.
So she was a colonialist. She was anti-abortion. Oh my God.
Oh, she dared to, remember, challenge Bill Clinton at the prayer breakfast?
If you don't want the babies, give them to me. Don't murder them.
One of the great moments in history.
It was.
Yes.
It was. And that's why you never see it anymore.
That's right.
Right?
Well, you're right.
Talk about iconic.
I use it in my classroom all the time.
Yep. And you won't see this. But the fact, so it is a confusing mural, to say the least. But again, I repeat, even Malcolm X, with all of his radicalism, he wasn't, apparently he did kill a man, I think, once.
Yes.
But he wasn't a murderer in the sense of Che. He wasn't a systemic murderer. And so to have Che's picture on that is just a great big slap. It's a slap in the face to the Dalai Lama, who preaches peace, or Mother Teresa, who took care of the abandoned Indian children that the Indian Hindu religion weren't interested in looking after. And to have Che in that picture, man, celebrate.
It reflects what's going on in American universities, American higher education, lower education. It is brainwashing gone amok. It really, truly has.
Well, again, as the article points out, Syracuse is not alone in sponsoring violent socialists and communists on campus. In March of 22, there was a report of a Che Cafe at the University of California, San Diego. What do you drink? Hemlock? A Che Cafe. Do they serve you?
It's a Che latte.
Do they serve you the livers of executed black Cubans? Is that what they did there?
Gay black Cubans.
With a few plantains underneath? But how'd they make that work? Or did you get a free beret? Every one of the fellow patrons that you murdered? Do you get that?
It's California. They even have a Mao Cafe in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm not making this stuff up. Can you imagine having a Hitler Cafe? This is just unbelievable.
In September 2021, the cafe featured a large mural of Guevara, and an area even hosts a black radical book club to openly promote leftist politics on campus.
Duke, a friend of mine, mi amigo, his name is Humberto Fantova. He escaped communist Cuba when Che was the butcher of La Habana prison. He has written an excellent book called Che Guevara, the real Che Guevara, and the useful idiots who idolize him. And he talks about, actually, as a young man, seeing the butchery of Che Guevara, and he came to the United States to be free. So I'd highly recommend Exposing the Real Che Guevara by Humberto Fantova.
We're going to go to a break in a moment, but I do want to leave you with this thought before we go to break. So Chick-fil-A is verboten on college campuses because, apparently Christians don't get along with LGBTQ, although as far as I know, Chick-fil-A has never banned anybody from their stores. So Chick-fil-A is banned, and yet the murderous Che gets murals and celebrations and cafes. We'll be back in a moment. We're back again with P. Jake Jacobs, the doctor himself, and we got done talking about how universities are spending a lot of money and time to glorify revolutionary monsters, people like Che Guevara, the Castro brothers. I mean, this love affair with left-wing murderers on college campuses. On the other side, we have a situation that will not surprise you. We have students writing so bad for college kids. They're writing so poorly that one particular professor says he actually has to write their emails for them because they can't do it.
Duke, when I read the article and it said that some of these people, the feedback was, Duke or Jake, when I used to be in the classroom teaching American history, you just need to spend more time teaching them how to write. I wasn't hired to teach kids how to write. I was hired to teach them world history, Western Civ, American history, that already should have been done by the time they came to me.
But you did have them write things.
Well, of course I did, yes.
Right.
But, I can still remember as a young kid, I wasn't the best writer. My dad used to tell me, he said, get a dictionary and read books and you'll get better. And you know what? I got a dictionary. I read a lot of books, and I got much better in my writing.
You hit on something critically important. These kids can't write because they can barely read. We have systematically undermined the reading abilities of our kids in the name of equity. Inner city minority kids don't read as well as other forms of kids, and so consequently then all we can do is pull down and destroy the reading capacity.
Dumbing down.
Yeah. And so you're exactly right. If kids can't read well, they will never write well, and that's the problem here.
So is it a combination of what the indoctrination, brainwashing, which is a horrible form of education? Classical education is gone away. That plus coupled with this social media mania where they're actually not reading books anymore. They may be titillated by scrolling through social media and getting headlines or playing games, whatever the case may be. But I would argue argue that their brains actually aren't being exercised.
No.
When you read a book, I call it the lifting of the weights of the brain, and that's not happening much anymore.
These kids are functionally brain addled now, because if you're not teaching kids really advanced reading skills all through elementary, middle, and high school, if they're not engaging their brain with serious writing that follows after the reading of really serious books, literally those brains are not developing.
But Duke, this is right, and this is what you do. So what's it like to be a
I'm an English professor.
Of English?
I'm an English professor.
And what are you getting right now?
This year, I have seen the lowest literacy rates of any previous semester. And, many of my students, most of my students are reading at about a 9th grade level, freshmen in high school.
Unbelievable.
This year, I don't think most of them would get up to that level. I mean, and here we are as college professors trying to assign them serious work, but you realize, and I made this point in another show I was doing, for the first time in my academic career, I really despaired when this semester started, because there's no way we're doing college level material with them. There's just no way. I might have them reading college level books, but they are not able to process them at that level. So it's very remedial. When I have class discussions, I give them quizzes on what they've read. And that's another thing. Some of these kids, many of the kids will tell me, we've never been asked to take a quiz or a test on what we've read. We've never had a teacher assign reading and then actually tell us they were going to ask us questions on a quiz. They don't get it anymore because, of course, grades, as you know, discriminate. So if in the high schools, if they were to quiz kids on the books they read, or they're really not reading books, the little bit of writing they're reading in the high schools, to actually give a quiz and to dock them for not knowing what they read would be unequitable, right?
So what's the source? From my experience, what I saw is that there was more and more and more of this wokeism that was being pushed on the kids that was incorporated within the curricula. That we were dumbing, like I had to fight like crazy to keep Western civilization, the last job I had, the academy where I taught, because they thought it was old-fashioned, no longer necessary. And it appears to be the same thing. What you and I had, I even had to learn cursive, which I would argue was profound in developing my thinking and my writing skills.
The science is on your side. But printing and typing does not connect the brain the way that cursive writing does. Cursive writing from print for little kids is a great leap forward in their brain development and their educational abilities when it comes to reading and writing, and we've scrubbed that.
So where does the problem lie? Well, how has this occurred now? Well, that you're getting kids that are at the 9th grade level, you're as a professor, you're teaching a high school level
I've got kids who will have to strive to get to 9th grade. It's worse than it's ever been before. And you ask where the problem comes from. It's not a problem. It is their solution. We have chosen equity over education. That means, in the good old-fashioned socialist way, every kid really is the same kid. Kids only matter collectively. They don't matter individually. And what we're going to do is take a collectivist view of education. We are going to make sure that every kid is common core. We're going to get every kid the same proficiencies, and any kid who goes ahead has to be pulled down, because lifting up the lowest kids isn't possible. Never was, and it never will be.
Oh man, John Dewey is just loving this stuff.
He's rolling around, I was going to say in his grave, but hell, whatever pit in hell he's roasting in. And as far as the story goes, we have a professor who used to assign 1 to 2 page essays for his biology class. That's not much, but scrapped them because students' writing was so poor. The professor provides email templates to his students. He will send them a template so how they can formally and correctly fill out an email that's legible. The professor provides email templates for which students would copy paste, fill in the blanks, and send to the proper recipient. It is unbelievable what we have going on in the classrooms. And when you're getting science professors who don't assign a lot of reading, with kids who cannot even do functional emails in terms of correctness and legibility, you got a big problem.
Duke, this is not just happening at University of Wisconsin where you teach. It's actually happening at Harvard and Yale.
Yes. When
you have, what's his name, Will Witt from Prager University, you know how he goes on campus and he asks them basic questions about civics, history, whatever the philosophy. Most of those kids don't have a clue, and they're at Harvard, Yale, Brown, Princeton. This is permeated throughout all of academia.
One professor writes, quote, "The quality of writing that I typically received was so poor that I couldn't adequately assess understanding biology." These kids may have read the books, but this is what I go back to said a moment ago. I'm not sure they can read a biological textbook. I don't think a lot of kids can read biology in a college-level textbook. But he says, this professor says, it was so poor, I couldn't tell from their writing skills whether they were learning any biology. But that tells you, if they're writing that bad, their reading is going to be equally problematic, and they probably are not grasping anything that you're asking them. The professor also said that poor writing also extended into student emails. We said, he said that the writing quality was so poor that he had no idea what the student was asking him for. He began providing email templates for common requests, such as requests to meet and assignment extensions. So you want to send an email to your biology professor and ask him, hey, when can I make an appointment to see you? The professor couldn't even discern that's what he's being asked in those emails.
Duke, what's the next topic?
You asked, where does this problem come from? I'm going to show you where it's going to come from. Take a look at Marquette University, a overpriced, completely unreligious Catholic school.
Yep.
Snarky, superior, condescending, altogether not worth that money. And yet this is what you get from the Catholics running Marquette. Marquette touts impact of faculty DEI course, cites testimony of a privileged white guy as proof. So you got a white male quisling, right, who's willing to talk about how much he learned about how racist he was simply because the lack of melanin in his skin, all of his wonderful privileges because of his deep whiteness, the fact that if he could have done it over this poor white dude, maybe he would have chosen somehow not to be white. This is where the money is going. This is where the emphasis is on. This is one big, the Roman Catholic Church used to be about confession. Yeah. Now the only confessions they want to hear are confessions of your whiteness.
Of your white privilege.
Yep.
And to see this, like, what do they say? Like 93% of the faculty that took this 10-week course called Making Marquette Inclusive, that they literally said, it's time that we start dealing with the dismantling of the system.
Yep.
I have white privilege. Please forgive me. This is, and we have to deal with microaggressions and implicit bias. It's the same sickening regurgitated pablum that's been going throughout the country thanks to wokeism and critical race theory and all this insane socialism that spreads throughout the nation.
According to Jackie Black, the school's director for Hispanic initiatives and diversity and inclusion, educational and programming, she is also listed as the contact person for those looking to enroll in the course. Quote, she says, ultimately, our hope is that as employees examine issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, they will focus on how these issues relate to our day-to-day work on this campus and apply the concepts within their spheres of influence. So your job as a professor or a janitor, for that matter, is to be brainwashed, to apologize, and to turn your classrooms not into places where we actually care about reading and biology, but places where you can then force your students to have to go the same confessional nonsense.
And they're coming back with a course that's going to be a 2.0. In fact, what we've seen happen across the country is the explosion of administrators, woke administrators, that are forcing this upon the faculty, and they're kowtowing. They're bowing to it because they want to keep their job.
Moms and dads, stay away from Catholic colleges. I mean, there's a couple of good ones out there, but stay away from the big ones, the Georgetowns, the Marquettes, the Notre Dames. Just stay away. The football isn't all that good. The basketball programs aren't worth it. If you want to give your kid an education that's going to allow him or her to succeed without hating themselves or hating white people if they're minorities, save your $60,000 a year and buy them a plumbing kit. Put them through some career training, right? Don't send them to these fake Catholic universities.
Yep.
And that's going to wrap up the show. If you have anything you want to do to help us out here, we would love you. You want to send us kudos and 5-star reviews or a little cash. If you enjoy the program, please subscribe to our brand new podcast channel. Simply search Dr. Duke Show on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're on Rumble, Please follow our new Rumble channel at rumble.com, and I must say it,
Rumble.
let's rumble. That's rumble.com/FreedomProject for all of us at the show, and for Jake Jacobs.
Ciao, Duke.
We say thank you, and we'll see you next time.